How do I see the chat on the side?
Well, I don't know, but we're live now.
There it is. There it is.
Did you find it?
I did. You bet.
Okay. Welcome, everybody, for a completely random Thursday Night Live. Once again, with Scott from Cold War Motors, the ground zero of automotive cool.
You guys are very kind.
That's what you do best. You do cool best. Yeah, some people build fast, somebody build rare, exotic, right? You just do cool. So,
We're pretty good at junk.
Is this going to be another one of those topicless lives where we just like ramble on, or are we going to have a direction for this one?
Well,
It shows you how professional we are.
yeah, I guess that could be. It could be a bit of both, I suppose.
Well, let's see. Let me say hi to some of our people.
Yeah,
Wow, we got a bunch of people in here already.
Really?
Mexican Spec, of course. Jay Weiss, what's happening? Ghetto Billy. Stephen H. Bunky Bird. Bill Kendi. Yeah, I'm just looking for our regulars in here, but everybody. Kevin Smith, Nathan McCree. Chase Fell. Been watching Scott for about 12 years. Excellent.
Wow, holy cow.
There you go. There's a long time. That kind of freaks me out when people tell me they've been watching me for like 7 years, and I'm like, why?
There's our buddy Randall.
Didn't you get sick of this? Like a year in. Getter Billy says Tony knows his stuff. Been a mechanic my whole life and still learn from him. Man, thank you so much. I do greatly appreciate that. Wheelie King, best two guys on YouTube right here. That's right. Let's get our egos pumped up, man, before we send it, right?
Well, that's very kind. And yeah, I see. I recognize. Oh, there's Todd Denio is here. Chuck Elliott. Wow, you guys. It's so fun, and I do enjoy this. I see so many of the same names in the comments after week, and it's kind of fun how this has come together. So many people that I've never met and probably never will.
It's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing. Somebody blew my cover at the gas station. So every day I have a 7-Eleven between here and my shop, and everybody who works there thinks that I work third shift at IKEA, assembling furniture, and then I drive the delivery truck. So that's the story that I've given everybody. And so I'm making my coffee, and somebody walks over and says, "Uncle Tony, I didn't expect to see you there." And one of the people who works there is listening to this conversation, and it's like it blew my cover. So now I have to find another 7-Eleven to get my coffee and burritos. Actually, really good burritos.
Oh yeah.
Laredo Taco Company. It is. It's like a little thing, that booth they put up in some of the 7-Elevens, and they make actually really good burritos.
I used to live on 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven's good, man. 7-Eleven is good. When I was a kid, when I was like 16, 17, we used to live on 7-Eleven coffee and mystery meat sandwiches. You remember the mystery meat? I think it was called a truck stopper.
I remember the 7-Elevens.
And then they had the other one that was called the Big Un.
Oh, I don't remember. I remember the nachos.
I didn't have nachos where I was.
Oh, really?
No.
I used to live on nachos and beer.
Nuclear food. Truck stoppers. The Big Un was a cheeseburger with chili on it. It was a chili cheeseburger.
Awesome.
Let's see. Mexican Spec is saying Uncle Tony's garage. Scott has a lot of echo on his sound. He was trying to straighten that out beforehand. We may have to deal with it though. UT, please raise your volume. My volume is let's see. All I can do is mute. Hang on. No, edit mic settings. Okay, let's see. Edit mic settings. Echo cancellation? Yes. Reduce background noise? Yes. Automatically adjust mic volume? Okay, mic volume. All right, turn off the automatic. Sorry, guys. Okay, here we go. All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can hear you. Just got a lot better.
All right. Yeah, but your echo is still really bad. Nathan, stop it. I lived on that stuff. How I made it to adulthood, I don't know. Used to sneak out of the house at like 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. My parents thought I was asleep. Go down to 7-Eleven, meet my hooligan friends, go do burnouts and street racing and all the other stuff, and get home for like the sun to come up. And in the meantime, we just lived on 7-Eleven. Zero says the boss sounds good. What is happening, Zero?
Cheers.
I
do have the echo turned off, so
okay, it sounds decent.
Sounds better now. I don't hear myself on yours, so.
So what is new in your world, Scott?
Well, the latest. Well, I've been trying to pick away at this Dodge Brothers car that I got. That was it's kind of fun because I don't have a lot of experience with pre-1930 cars, so it's it's a fun learning experience. It has some really nice engineering that you wonder why it went away. Like the generator and the starter are the same unit. Yeah, like and it's chain driven. So as soon as the engine's running, and it's completely silent when you're turning it over. It's really an interesting thing.
Cadillac. That was first on the Cadillac, and you know what uses that now? The Honda not passports, Honda Metropolitan scooters. They do the same thing. The alternator is also the starter. Yeah. So when you hit the button, it's completely silent.
Our old Japanese two-strokes are like that. You just touch the button and it's running, and it becomes a generator. I don't know why they went away from it. So I've been doing that.
Simple.
Yeah. And it has, funny enough, you did a video on constant vacuum carburetor, and that's what it has. It's an updraft constant vacuum carburetor, patented 1914, and it's all brass, and it's just beautiful. And it only has about 9 pieces in it, and seems to work really well. So kind of a clever thing. It's got a remote float and a vacuum fuel pump. So just kind of fun stuff to be playing with, Nice change from some of the other, more ordinary stuff. I just finished my 61 Belvedere brakes. I've had that car since I was a kid, and I decided to put it back on the road. So the 61, 59 to 61, they have the 2 leading shoe cylinders. Yep. Yeah. So just went through all that. And, I don't know, some people say they're hard to set up, but I didn't really find that. I found
anybody new or sketchy with drum brakes, that'll make them just throw in the towel. Nope. Step too far.
They're funny to bleed, because I didn't realize that you have to have the shoes all the way in. So you can't have it, you have to bleed it and then adjust it, because otherwise there's an air pocket that you can't get out. And that was the only trick to them.
See, you talk about the brass era cars. It's something I've never messed with, but I've always wanted to. I think the only, like way back, probably when I was like my 20s, when we had a gas station, service station on Castleton Avenue. I had somebody bring me a T, like a mid-20s Model T for they were bringing it occasionally, can you weld this? Can you do that? And that's as far as I ever went with it. But I have a growing appreciation for those cars, and I watch a lot of. You ever see Jennings Motorsports?
I've definitely heard of it, and he does get some cranky old things running, right?
Yeah. He's like the ultimate in will it run? And he's got stuff that it's been sitting in the same spot upside down for 100 years. And he has stuff running. So it's like I would, if I had a little more room and a little more time, I would definitely get involved in something like that.
Yeah, the quality, again, struck by the quality of it. Like the quality of materials is just unbelievable. And we pulled the pan off it, and I mean the cam looks brand new, and everything is just so beautifully made. Now, of course, there's no counterbalance on the crank and everything, so everything's a little shaky, and the rods are really long. It looks like train stuff, it looks like train parts, but really impressive. And the quality of bearings,
That's like a 1,500 RPM motor, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
kind of.
you'll idle down to around like 300 RPM, and then it's maxed out at about 15.
Yeah, yeah. Same with the T. They're kind of 1800 RPM. Yeah, and so really a fun thing. External band brakes that collect that pull against the drum. So probably not much good in the rain. No front brakes at all. So yeah, just fun. And there's no home for that stuff. Like you can't really use it in city traffic because it's a little too. Even the 30s cars you can get away with it, but so these 1920s cars, they don't really have a home when they come up for sale. It's very hard to sell them, and nobody really wants them. And so you can get nice ones for next to nothing, and they're just kind of a fun thing. I wouldn't want it to be my only car, but I'm really happy to have a couple of them, even just so that when you get in a 1950s car, you have that perspective.
Except in the future.
Yeah, like a 1950s car to me is like a rocket ship from the future. And I have some of those, and those are my favorites, and they probably always will be. But to have the old stuff really puts it in perspective too. And then I guess if you had a car from 1903, then the 1925 Dodge would feel like a rocket from the future as well.
The thing about 1950s cars, you bring that up about so you play with something early and you feel like you stepped into the future. 1950s cars to me don't really feel old. They feel like they're just like out of time. Like in other words, they don't really belong in the timeline. They're kind of like in there. Does that make any sense? You look at something from the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, and say, yes, that's old. That's clearly old. And even the early 50s, that's old. Then you skip ahead to like the early 60s, 64, 65, 66. And again, you pick up that old thing. But when you look at cars, 1958, 1959, look at like a 58 Turnpike Cruiser. It doesn't really seem old. It seems like it belongs in its own timeline, and it's forever. Does that make any sense at all?
Part of it, I think, is that if you remember them, like I've had the same 1960s car since I was a kid. So when I get in it,
it's normal.
It doesn't seem old to me,
right?
Because I remember them being everywhere. And 50s cars, I guess. The attraction was that they were already gone, really, for the most part. When I grew up, and most of the 1950s cars were already gone. So they were unique, and they were always something that caught my eye. And they were pretty spectacular to look at, too. But I agree, like, if I see, I drive around mid-70s cars, and they seem like modern cars to me.
Yeah, same here. Same here.
So, but it's 50 years old.
But then when you get to middle 80s cars, they seem old to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. They seem new.
I'm just throwing through. Let's not ignore the people this time, because the last couple of times we just ran off on.
We should do that. Kevin Smith asks, "How's the Menace?" She's really good. She just got a haircut, and she's just having a terrific day. Thank you for asking, Kevin. If you guys have any questions, you guys let us know.
What was the matter with the Menace?
Oh, no, nothing. She's fine.
Okay.
Somebody just asked how she was, and she's doing really good.
Let's see. Thumper is in the house. What's happening, man? He's debating on if he'll build a 50 Chevy 3600 on a 2005 Silverado chassis or my 76 C10 short box for daily summer truck. Yeah, I'm not into the body swap thing, man. I would build the 76. Zero saying, to me, mid-60s and beyond, in regards to steering geometry or basic layout, they seem better since that stayed basically the same for decades. There was certainly the front ends on the 1960s Mopars, which now I deal with on a regular. Actually, see, I was about to run off on a tangent, but I'll save it. That seems normal to me, and it seemed like I look at the lower control arms and the steering layout, the suspension layout, and that seems new. It seems like it's contemporary, but it's also completely outdated.
Well, they use that for a long time. that basic setup. Somebody asked how the Edsel transmission is coming along. Driveway of Misfits. Cheers. We have all the sub-assemblies redone, and we just have to reassemble the entire unit. And I have a couple of things. The thing with this transmission stuff is I'm not a guy who does a lot of transmissions. So when this goes back together, it has to be right. So I would rather spend a couple of days double checking everything than put it in and have to take it out again, because that thing was tight and I do not want to have to do that again. So when it goes in, it has to be perfect. So it's basically coming though. We're all the small components are done, and now it's just got to put it all back in the box and put it back in the car.
Buddy Carfano saying I body swapped slag hammer. Yeah, but that's different. I didn't body swap it for a more modern, like the body and the frame both came from the same era. So it's not like I was trying to alter the personality of the car by upgrading it. I was side grading it, and it was all about that front axle. I can't begin to tell you how much I love that front axle. I know we ended up building the whole car around it. I would have a straight axle in everything. Actually, I kind of do. Everything I drive these days has a straight axle in it.
Oh yeah, I guess those Jeeps.
Yeah, the Jeeps all have straight, just a tube. The 4-wheel drive have a whole diff and everything in there, and then the 2-wheel drive is everything is exactly the same, except it uses a tube instead of.
Really?
Yeah.
What do they have for springs in the front of those?
Coils.
And they actually have a solid tube front axle.
Solid front axle.
I don't think I've ever seen a 2-wheel drive one of those.
Well, I have 5 2-wheel drives.
Really?
Yeah, I only have 1 4-wheel drive.
Really? Okay, maybe it's just a local thing. Every truck around here is 4-wheel drive.
Well, I seek out the twos. They're rare, but I like to use them as dailies on the road. I don't need to drag a diff and a transfer case through oil all the time. There's a big difference in fuel mileage, in responsiveness. It's the 2 completely different animals. The 2-wheel drive feels like a sports car.
Yeah, for sure.
But that was if I had to pick one element of those Jeeps that just sucked me in and said, yes, I love this. It's the tube front axle.
Yeah. That doesn't give a lot of trouble. Well, doing the old Dodge again, you'd like that stuff. It's leaf springs in the front and just a piece of I-beam, and
Yep.
I pounded bushings into it, and it's good for another 100 years now.
Exactly.
No pesky brakes and to get in the way to take apart.
You ever come across any 33 Plymouth front ends?
Which, 1933?
Yeah, the Plymouth.
No, haven't seen.
You're not familiar with the Plymouth tube?
No, I don't think I've seen it. No.
So 32, it uses a relatively straight tube, and then 33, it's like this. It's weird, but it's beautiful. It's got like just a graceful kind of arc to it.
Oh, okay.
And then the following year they went to independent front suspension.
Okay, yeah.
It's like a 1-year only front axle.
Oh, neat. There's Carter Auto Restyling. He has a grievance.
Let me see if I can find him. Can you highlight on your end?
What's that?
Can you highlight on your end?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I don't know. I don't think so. No. The shed that he helped me construct had several defects. Oh, well. Carter, I was just watching that video. Well, that's...
Amazon sucks. Jeep XJ and Jeep Cherokee the same thing. Yes, the XJ is Cherokee from 1984 to 2001. But in the meantime, they had the Grand Cherokee, which was the larger one. And then later on, like I guess it was 2010, they brought back the Cherokee name on a vehicle. It just sucks. It's a junk. But when I refer to XJ, that's what I mean. It's an 84 to 2001 Cherokee. Dr. Art is in the house. What's happening, man? Why aren't you wearing a hat, Dr. Art? I noticed it right away in your picture here. So tomorrow night, we're doing a live teardown tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, guys. We're tearing down. I got that 383 that I bought months ago. Now I finally got it in the shop. I got it mounted on the engine stand. So we're going to do a live teardown, and we're going to try to save the engine. We're going to do whatever, minimal, whatever we can get away with, just to get it running. So that'll be tomorrow night. Oh, geez, and it's Jamie from Dead Dodge Garage. What's happening, Jamie?
Hey, Jamie.
He's all over the map. 426, Hemis, 318, slant sixes. This guy's everywhere. He makes me feel inferior.
Oh, that's a fantastic. Is it a LA 318? I would assume.
I don't think he's got a. Oh, he did do a poly.
Oh yeah, good.
You want to? Get, I don't know how. Hey, Kat. Is she even watching? How professional is this? All right. She's mission control. I was going to tell her send Jamie a link because I don't know how to do that. If he wants to jump in.
Oh yeah.
Kevin Smith wants to know, how is Lieutenant Dan?
Oh, LTD Dean. Oh, thanks, Kevin. Dean's good. He's been working out of town a lot, so we haven't been able to get together as much as we'd like. But Dean's good. He's we got to get out to his place, see the latest junk he bought. But he's good. I just been only able to talk to him on the phone recently, just because he's working about 200 miles away from here. But guys got to work, so we'll get him back over here as soon as we can. Yes, here we go. LA 318, mild cam, closed chamber, 920 heads, etc. Little bits. He's building a poly slowly. Oh, good. I'm a fan of polys. I have them in 3 of my drivers right now.
There was a dual quad setup, the poly dual quad setup on Marketplace for $800. I want, soup to nuts, everything. The air cleaners. I should have jumped on it, but I don't have anything to put it on.
I would think that would be a lot of carburetor for a 318.
They ran.
Yeah,
well,
they
WCFBs.
What are they? WCFBs?
Yeah, there were WCFBs on that.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And it had those weird the football shaped air cleaners.
Yeah, those are cool. Yeah, I got a single 4-barrel setup, but I don't have a 2-4 setup.
Those are expensive.
Yeah,
and hard to come by. I found one in the woods. I don't know, maybe 15, 18 years ago. It was in a 61 Dodge. It had been sitting in the woods probably since 63, and I couldn't get it off. I couldn't liberate it. Every bolt had rotted down to where it was just round.
Oh, you couldn't even take them out. Yeah.
I went back a couple of times, like with different brainstorms. I'll do this. I'll do that. Ultimately, I should have gone back with a generator and a grinder, and I could have just cut the bolts. And
I got really lucky. I bought a parts car and I opened the hood when I got it home, and that's what it had on it. I'm like, oh, that's worth what I paid for the whole car just for this. Carb was still on it and everything.
James Latour. Will first gen Hemi Chrysler Marine fit on a poly? The Chrysler poly.
I think so. I think there is a block. Is there not, the 270 where the Hemi heads will fit? But I think the poly that we think of, the 318 poly, that you can't put Hemi heads on that as far as I know. Yeah.
No, but the Dodge poly and the Chrysler poly. So the Red Ram poly Dodge, and the Chrysler Spitfire.
Right, the 354 or whatever.
331 and 354.
Yeah, okay.
Those you can swap the identical blocks, so you can put the heads on them, and the only difference is the poly has an exhaust valve relief that's offset in the piston. Mm-hmm. But that's it. Other than that, yeah, you can just
take
the heads and bolt them right on.
I have
for the Dodge Hemi.
Okay, so there is some truth to that, but not the poly that we think of, the later one.
No, the A motor is an orphan.
That's
So actually, I think Jamie did a video on this too. So at one point I had a DeSoto Hemi block, and I had an LA block next to each other just to do a side by side, right? And the similarities between the two blocks were just amazing. Like for instance, you could take the 318 or the LA oil pan and bolt it to the DeSoto block, the rear main seal, and the first 6 bolts to the back, 3 on each side, all line up exactly. And then the block is a slightly different length. And so the further you go, the bolt holes just start to miss. Right? But
unreal.
the timing chain is the same. The front cover, the timing cover has the same bolt pattern.
Yeah. I think the water pumps interchange on a bunch of them.
Yeah. So it appeared to me that because Plymouth didn't have a Hemi and DeSoto didn't have a poly, so it appeared to me that the poly, the Plymouth poly, was the unborn DeSoto poly.
That makes sense. DeSoto, when did they cancel that? 61.
The poly motor?
No, the DeSoto brand.
Oh, 61, yeah.
Yeah. You ever seen one?
I almost bought a 61. It was the A body. It was the DeSoto version of the Lancer, the Dodge Lancer.
Yeah.
But it was a basket case. It was gone. I could have had it for like $60. It was one of those things that years ago this was. But yeah, they built a couple of them.
Yeah. There was one in the neighborhood here, 4-door, but I've decided I got to narrow it down because I have too many cars. So I'm only buying Plymouths.
Okay, what's this here now? Jamie's saying, I did the video comparing the two. People still tell me I'm an idiot from time to time for comparing the DeSoto and Poly. The deck length and head bolt spacing difference prevents any head swapping shenanigans. Yes, but look how close those two engines are. Like it's more than just a coincidence that dimensionally, and even the distributor interchanges. So the distributor from a Chrysler is too short to drop into an LA. Is it too long? It's too long to drop onto an LA. The one from a Dodge is too short, and the one from a DeSoto drops right into a 318.
That's cool. I would like.
The Cunningham's had a DeSoto. Yeah, they use those in. Oh God, there were a couple of different applications that used DeSoto Hemis. But yeah,
I think you're talking about Richie Cunningham.
Them too. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a 1950, I believe, on Happy Days.
Wait, wasn't the Cunningham a sports car, a British sports car that used DeSoto? Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. They both had DeSotos, the race cars and the TV show.
Todd Denny was saying there's a factory dual quad 61 DeSoto 2-door hardtop about 60 miles from here. That's the intake manifold. I worked on my 68 Roadrunner today. I haven't touched that car in years, literally years. And I picked up those. I don't know if you saw it. I did the video on the competition series AFBs.
Yes.
Which like 40 people saw that video, and they got no traction at all, right? People are always like, do hands-on stuff. We love the tech stuff. Yeah, okay, so I give you hands-on tech, and nobody watches it. But I went through those carburetors, and they're for a stroker motor, but I figured, well, I'm going to put them on that intake manifold, and that whole thing is going in the car anyway, so let's just swap them over now. So I actually worked on that car. I put a wrench to that car for the first time in like at least 7 or 8 years.
Nice. That's a full street car. Plates, interior seats.
Yes. It's done. I think there's a picture of it here someplace. So what it is, it's the car I wanted when I was like 16, 17. And it's a composite of New York City street rat of that era. right? So it's a Bear Stripper 68 Roadrunner coupe. It's got a stock interior in it, a stock bench, automatic on the column as it should be in a Roadrunner. Um, but and the body is all stock, but it's the whole underneath of the car, under the hood, all those surfaces are white, gloss white Rust-Oleum. It's got right now it's got a 400 in it. I blew up the 383 I originally built for it. It's got a 400 in it now with the dual quads, and that's got all period vintage stuff on it. Mickey Thompson valve covers, and chrome doodads, and so on and so forth. So when you open the hood, it's got an Axle dual point. So when you open the hood, it's like it's time warp. It's like you go back in time.
Yeah.
And the car, it just pops. It's one of those things. I eventually will get it out in the daylight. It's B5 blue. And like I said, the whole undercarriage and the wheel openings are all painted white. And even behind the grill is all white because that's how they did it back in the day, right? The race cars and street rats were all painted white like that. And it's a time warp type of car.
Yeah,
I get a kick out of it.
That's cool, especially when they're all so over restored now.
Yeah,
but it's way more interesting to see them as they were driven.
It's the car I wanted when it was the one that you'd see going down the boulevard. Like, okay, he's going to the spot now. You know what I mean?
It's the one you wanted. You got super chat from Thunderbird 68 there.
Oh, thank you, Thunderbird. Okay, what do we got here? I'm trying to highlight that, and it's not letting me highlight it. Why not? Okay, I'm sorry, Thunderbird, but here, trying to dial in a 715 4300D spread bore. What causes high RPM backfire popping? I just fixed off idle bog by knocking out the tiny accelerator pump nozzles. Now I got a popping up high when accelerating. 1161 429 Ford. Okay. That's an oddball carburetor. That's the Ford version of the Quadrajet. A popping up high when accelerating. Popping out the intake? What do you make of that, Scott?
All I could think would be ignition, or the only other car I knew that would pop back through the intake at high RPM was one with a scrubbed off camshaft.
Yep, that'll do it. Or stuck valve. A valve that's not gummed up valve. At low RPM, the spring is enough to bring it back and seat it. But at higher RPM, it's not seating the valve.
Or point float, maybe.
He doesn't say what kind of ignition he's got in there. If it's popping through the intake, and it's especially if it's a rhythmic popping, I'll almost guarantee you've got just a gummed up valve or two. Try some transmission fluid or Marvel Mystery Oil down the carburetor while you rev the engine. I did a video on that whole procedure. But yeah, that's probably what it is. At high RPM, the gummed valve it can't return quickly enough to seal the chamber, and it'll start to pop. When the RPM goes down, then it'll seat itself and it'll go away. The popping will go away. I'm just running back through. Okay, saying it was running. What? It was fine yesterday, other than the bog. I don't know, man. So what? Okay, now I'm seeing all kinds of crazy stuff happening as far as Canada and car laws go. So I know the EV mandates are there so that they're not going to be able to sell anything internal combustion past 2035, is it?
I've heard that. Honestly, I pay so little attention to stuff like that.
Okay.
What they're trying to do and what they'll actually be able to do, um, you know, they're talking. A lot of it's just straight up virtue signaling, right? Like we're gonna pretend that we're gonna do this, and uh, but what is the timeline on that? Like 15 years from now? I mean,
Well, 2035. This,
okay, 10 years. So 3 governments later, I don't. I think, and you outlined it in one of your videos where you talked about, is the government going to come and take away your cars? No. So,
no.
I mean, and honestly, is it an excuse to make gasoline more expensive and tax it more? Sure. But, it hasn't stopped them so far. So they're just going to, if they just keep, it'll certainly, and I think we can agree that it's just, the whole idea is to just make it harder and harder for people to, to get around. And it's all part of the same program. So what they want to dress up their totalitarianism as like some kind of enviro whatever mandate. They can try whatever, but I part of the reason I don't pay too much attention to it is because it just makes me mad. And and I'm like, is it going to really affect my life? And I don't know. Some time ago, I realized that making plans more than, say, a year. I mean, keep your direction right, but don't worry about specific plan. Make sure you're facing the right way with your life, and then maybe you get hit from behind, but it might push you further where you want to go if you're facing the right way.
You're picking a general direction.
Yeah, I don't have a specific
general direction, and whatever crosses your path, you'll deal with it when you get to it.
Yeah, that's right. And so, what politicians say about a decade in the future, it's so remote from my life, and
well, that's having to do with new cars. But evidently, Canada's got legislation on banning parts for cars a certain year, certain age range.
Yeah, like I think they're doing this now in. It was an Asian country. I don't remember. Was it Korea or Thailand or something, like where they're going to outlaw cars that are more than 15 years old, or make it impossible to buy parts for them, or something like this.
I doubt it. Thailand has a berserk hot rod culture.
Yeah, maybe.
I think we talked about this.
And I mean, if we look at Cuba, and I think it's a bit of a trite cliche example, but where the determination is, people will get around it. The right, people who want to. I mean, most people have no car in Cuba, and the people that do, they take it seriously, and that car is a real asset. And that might be the future. I mean, certainly Canada is well along the way, to that kind of system. So I guess,
are you seeing signs of collapse up in Canada?
Well, sure. And, but I guess, and it kind of ties in with what we heard from the gentleman on the General Motors interview, the engineer, is it was nice to have somebody clearly articulate what we've all kind of known in our guts for 25 years.
Right, but actually hear it come out of his mouth.
Oh my God, I can't believe General Motors was only in it for the money. Like, I'm not really surprised. But it was nice to have somebody articulate and point, okay, well, here's how they actually did it. And that was really, it was nice, again, to be proven right.
Validated. Yeah, exactly.
Validated, right? And so when I say that everything's headed for the shitter here, I don't really need, I'll leave it for history to put the fine points together, but I kind of get it, And so rather than, like, and I don't know if there's a lot of there's not a lot of percentage in sitting here and point by point describing what I think is going wrong. I will just leave it to history, and plus I won't get blocked on YouTube.
I wouldn't worry about it too much. The censorship on YouTube has definitely eased up a bit from the time that I did a couple of hours one night with a guy called the Economic Ninja, and this was in like 2012, 22, was it? It was just like right at the peak of like censorship, like where people were getting blitzed for no reason. And I took that down. I was like, oh, oof, okay. I said a few things to, and down, right? But it's not like that anymore. I see people having conversations and phrases coming up in titles and descriptions and stuff that would have had you nuked 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And now the censorship seems to have been. Did you see that YouTube has officially demonetized all of the AI car channels?
No, I'm not sure. What do they mean by AI car channels?
Okay, so for the last couple of few months, there's been a blitz of AI generated automotive content. They take videos like mine, okay, and they'll take the transcript of the video and just kind of like switch it around so it's not a word for word thing. Then they run it through AI and they throw AI pictures at it.
Oh, and do they use clips from other people's videos?
Well, they use the intellectual content.
Okay, yeah.
So you'll do a video on I don't know 1950s Plymouth, okay? So through your video, you're going to talk about A, B, C, D, right? The order of things, the evolution of things. Well, they'll take that in AI and just kind of like shuffle it around a little bit, so that it's not a direct ripoff of what you did. It's just a rewording of it, and then they'll add AI generated pictures to it.
Okay.
And then of course they get an AI generated thumbnail and AI generated title and description, which is going to hit all of the right,
Right. I think I've seen some of those videos, but I've never watched one. But I have found multiple times literally clips from my videos used in other videos, like greatest cars of the 1960s.
And you'll see your clips pop up.
And it's like, that's my video. I filmed that. They did not have permission to use this. And then you leave a comment like, hey, take my video out of your stupid video because, and then nothing comes of it. And then you complain to YouTube and nothing comes of it. And the video gets 400 million views. And, there's no credit to the actual people in the videos. So anyway, I mean,
that's another version of it where they're just ripping clips out.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's been an explosion of these channels, and they get huge views because it's AI. So they're hitting the wording and the algorithm, right on target. Excuse me, we really can't do that. We just and send it. So as of yesterday, the day before, YouTube announced that beginning July 20 something that no more monetization for AI generated videos, which is that means that there's no incentive to produce them anymore, and so the eyes will come back to our stuff.
Yeah, well, good. It's a rare instance of them, making the right decision. So I've been at YouTube a long time, and it used to be really fun, right? That's why I got into it. You could do whatever you wanted. And that changed in about 2017. So
that's when I got involved in it. Mark Howley, tell me how YouTube can tell it's AI. I can tell, but YouTube will use AI to find. Well, yeah, they use AI to identify the AI.
Yeah, I've seen so much of it lately. What was I reading the other day? A guy, he must have used AI to write this ad for this card he was trying to sell on Facebook. And it was just like the most flowery prose for a used car ad. And the car was rubbish. Like, it was a dented up old piece of shit. And the the description of the car in the ad, and I was just like, is this even real? Like, it should just say whatever it was, 62 Ford Fairlane rough offers. That's all it needed to say. And it went on for, oh, this glamorous old time neat blah blah, and like you can tell like I've read a lot of used car ads, and I've never read one that sounded like that. And
it was crafted to life during the era of Camelot.
Oh, it was just terrible. I was like, this is the worst used car ad, because it was just so pretentious and stupid. And so yeah, it's everywhere now, I guess. But you can pick it out, right? And the first few times it had me going. It had me going because I didn't really even realize how good this technology was. But it's like so many things. Once you can see it, you can't unsee it. And as it gets better, I guess it'll get harder to pick it out. But
there are some things that are like dead giveaways. Like when they do an illustration of an engine, you could tell at a glance, like it's a small block Chevy, right? Like there are elements of it that are dead nuts, like the valve cover, the shape of the valve cover. But then it'll have 5 exhaust ports, and there was one that was on a small block on a 346 pack, and it was like very clear the engine was right, but when you got up to the top of the engine where the carburetors were, it was just this mismatch, like this mush of like images that kind of almost resembled a carburetor. And then you can always tell during the dialogue, because they won't say 426 Hemi. They'll say 426 Hemi.
yeah, the pronunciation is terrible. Yes, there's something that gives it away.
Yeah,
every time. And well, for now anyway, right? Like, if somebody had showed me that what they can do now 10 years ago, you never would have believed it. So
I know.
It's all pretty spectacular.
I think in general, I think our species is in a world of hurt, because even though, like, okay, for what we're talking about now is like an obvious like deficiency in AI, right? Because it's not as creative as the individual is. It's not as fluid as the individual is, right? And it can't make accurate representations of something it didn't take a picture of itself, right? But when it comes to the type of white collar work that, paper shufflers that have already been reduced down to like punching, there's I'm going to say half the jobs out there, half the employment out there now is going to be replaced by AI in very short time, 2 years. It's ready to go now.
Have you tried using a help menu or anything lately? Like
which?
Well, any kind of, if you're having trouble with any kind of internet thing and it's like, oh, do you need help? And you click on the button, there's nobody there, right? And it'll tell you, well, I know you guys sell your own shirts and merchandise, and I've been trying to set that up here. And the AI that they use as the help it's unbelievable, because like, it'll just tell you the wrong thing, or it'll tell you, oh, look for the button that does this, and it's not there. And then when you just call it out, I just call it out. I'm like, that button doesn't exist. Then it's like, oh, I can see why you might think that button doesn't exist, because it doesn't. But then if you try, and I'll just keep going, and I'll waste that stupid thing's time. And maybe sometimes, like, if you're prepared, I'm almost happier to use that than a real person, because I always feel bad wasting a real person's time.
I know what you're saying.
Hey, I don't feel bad wasting his time, so I'll send it on a goose chase. But yeah, it's just so weird. I had to deal with the phone company the other day. There's no phone number for them. They only own the company. Why would we have a number where you would talk to us? Like, and we'll sign in. Well, I don't remember signing in. What's my password? I don't know what that. You know what I mean? It's all designed. Same with all the thing when your phone, and they're like, hey, push 1 for blah blah, push 2, and it takes like an hour to go through the menu, and they're like, well, there's nothing there that suit. That's all there to get you to hang up. Right? They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to help you. They just want your money.
Well,
across.
Is it Zero's birthday? Zero, happy birthday if it is.
Hey, buddy.
Todd Denny was saying, I don't understand why there are so many using AI for YouTube videos because a real person can do it and narrate. Yeah, but a real person actually has to take the time to do it, right? Where with AI, it's just a quick compilation.
A lot of these things, I think, these are videos that are produced in countries where you won't find anybody that speaks English, but the videos are marketed to countries where the people do. And so rather than trying to find somebody to narrate your video, you just push a button. And then and that's why they say things like 426 hemai, because the person who made the video doesn't even speak the language. And
there was one that got me recently that I thought it sounded real. And the Hemi thing, they called it Hemis a couple of times. And that was like, because it's bad. It's
yeah,
bad.
But I mean, I guess like so many things, if it didn't work, it wouldn't be there, right? And so just because it doesn't work on us, somebody's watching that stuff, or there would be no motivation to do it. And but for sure, they do make the best clicky baity thumbnails, and then you click on it, and you can usually tell about 20 seconds in, I'm like, this is terrible.
But at 30 seconds, it's a view, and they're getting paid for it.
Right, and they're getting paid, yeah.
Right. So somebody's pressing a couple of buttons to generate an AI, and that's all they're doing. It's like, hey, let's do a video on 426 Hemi. Make me a video about a 426 Hemi in NASCAR, okay? And then the AI thing will pop up, and it'll have a script, and it'll say, well, put pictures to it, and they put pictures to it, and then hit the button, send, and it's up.
Yeah.
Right. And that's it. That's all they've got to do. So I mean, like the monetary incentive, you're gonna do a video like that, and let's say it's gonna get 100,000 views.
Sure. No, there's the incentive, and
right. It's $10,000 in your pocket, just poof here.
AI can write movies, and it can write music, and it can do all this stuff. Doesn't have to do it well, and they're just doing it to get paid. And I guess, like so many things, if people didn't put up with it, it wouldn't be there. But it's dishonest, I guess, because it's well, I don't know. I guess, is it dishonest? It's a gray area, but I don't know. And what are the ads for all of the videos, including mine, or for like Grammarly and stuff, which is just, it should just be called AI cheating. Like, oh, can't spell, Grammarly, can't write a decent sentence, Grammarly. So people will end up, is just to get people hired into jobs that they have no way of actually doing. So, but that's a huge thing, right? I mean, that shit is everywhere. And I think that, and now we're seeing these Grammarly used car ads, and that's the first one I'd seen. So it kind of stuck in my head.
I haven't seen that one.
No.
I think in general, though, we're collectively we're in a heap of trouble. It's coming from all of the low-hanging fruit jobs.
That's exactly what I was talking about with my girl. Was we don't have to beat the system. It's like when you don't have to outrun the bear, just outrun the other guy.
Right.
And so we're just trying to outrun the other guys. Like, we're in pretty good shape. Like, there's so much more low-hanging fruit than one old guy with a bunch of junkers out in the country and his house is already paid for. Like, it's just, by the time they get to me, I'll be gone. So I'm not too worried about it,
I don't think anybody's coming for us. When I say the low-hanging fruit, right, it's the barely above minimum wage jobs, the white-collar stuff.
Well, and people who just who grew up borrowing money and who owe $1 million, and they have 2 new cars that have to be fully insured and a huge mortgage, and those are, and there's lots of them. But those people, like, if the interest rates go up 2%, they're in a world of trouble. And the people who loaned them that money know that. And to pretend that these people have your best interests at heart is really the number one mistake you can make. And so you don't have to beat the system, just understand it, understand what it's there for.
The problem is the system has protected itself through the education system, through all of the different systems.
It's huge. Yeah.
I feel bad for the average person, and I don't at the same time, because it's like all the signs were there. You know what I mean? But you kind of chose to just follow the program. Go along to get along, memorize the stuff you need to learn in school, go to college, get this, paper, this degree, this, go along to get along, follow life. I kind of felt bad for them, and at the same time, I don't. It's like you couldn't put two and two together and say, I don't know. I smelled a rat in the system from the time I was like a baby. First grade, second grade. It was like, get me out of here. This is not right. This doesn't feel good. Get me out of here. So I don't know.
And just another parallel to what we heard from that fellow at GM. It's just, we're not surprised by it, but it's nice to have it spelled out. But you can multiply that kind of thinking to the whole world, right? The people running it are running it for themselves.
The thing about that interview with the gentleman, with the engineer, was, yes, of course, it validated stuff that we've known all along, right? But now he's putting an actual, like, here, this is the part and this is the sequence of events that led up to it. But you don't realize how much malice there is from a corporate level towards anybody who isn't that first tier buyer. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's one thing to say, well, this will only last for so long, but it's another thing to, how can I explain it to you?
It's psychopathic.
Is it psychopath? Yes. Are they psychopaths? Yes.
Yeah, corporations are psychopathic.
They're sociopaths. It's sociopathic. Sociopaths make it to the top of every corporate ladder anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's designed for sociopaths.
Oh, I had a good question here from somebody. Sorry. Oh, from Terra Torre. Can you see that go up a bit?
We think, therefore, we homeschool.
Oh, that was a good one. Well, I don't know if it's about. Somebody asked favorite British car or truck, and which is a good question because I don't currently own any British cars or trucks.
Well, what would your favorite be?
My favorite would be, like, if I could just pick one, and they're just so hard to find. I would like an Armstrong Siddeley Sapphire.
I've never even heard of that.
Failing that, I really like Rover P6s. My friend Keith has like 6 of them. I love those. But I would, the Armstrong Siddeley, just because it's like the most British sounding car ever, and they're quite attractive. Oh, there's a puppy. So that would be one. That would be one I would have. But I would like. I like Rover P6. That's a lovely car. It's like the British Citroën DS. A lot of interesting engineering.
I would just want a simple MG.
Yeah.
It's a simple midget, yellow, pre bumper, because the bumper laws in 73 really killed those cars. But, you get 69, 70, 71, something simple and basic like that I would like. I mean, early Jags are beautiful. There are so many different outstanding British, well, they never really had outstanding engineering. They had outstanding visuals. They had outstanding styling. They had outstanding karma, but they never, they were always a little bit inferior. British metal was always weird. You ever work on like a 60s, early 70s British car? The metal was always like a played out Coke can. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Well, I think there was a time before that when it was really
pre-war.
Perhaps, yeah.
No, I mean, I'm only familiar with post-war British stuff, and it's always kind of substandard in a lot of different ways.
Well, I asked my friend who's a real British car buff. I said, "What is it with the whole Lucas thing? Why is everybody, always down on this?"
The Prince
And
of
he made
Darkness.
a good point, and he said Lucas, like any other manufacturer, made different levels of quality of equipment depending on what they were getting paid. And he said, "There's Lucas parts out there that are among the best in the world, and there are, and I've seen them." And the Lucas also had to make parts for MG Metros, and so they had to make cheap parts for cheap cars, and they made good parts. Like all the electronics or all the electrical components in my sister's Rover P5 are Lucas. But I mean, the voltage regulator would kill you if it fell on you. It's just such a beautiful piece of equipment, and it will last 100,000 years. The trouble with British electrical stuff, I think, is not the equipment. It was the fact that the humidity is around 100% there, and it's right by the ocean. So everything that the electrical stuff is supposed to be attached to corroded away, whether the components were good or not. And then so once you start losing grounds, it doesn't matter how well the pieces are made. If there's no ground for it because the fender rusted away, then people will blame the equipment because the headlights didn't come on. But it's in fact the body of the car is the problem because the fenders have fallen off it. There's no grounds.
Dean Stevenson is saying, hang on. Dean's always got an interesting take on things. Lucas and Bosch, a duel to the death. Lucas wins by offing itself first. I've never had good experience with any type of Lucas electronics.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just a cliche. It really was the Prince of Darkness. Like, okay, and like you're saying, yes, they could make better stuff, but I'm always picturing corroded connectors, light sockets that are just they're just unusable. You go to put an 1157 and the thing just splits open. That type of deal.
Yeah.
And the way that British cars, like I can't pinpoint an exact thing, but I'm picturing like under a dash and random pieces of wood here and there, if that makes any sense. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. I remember I worked at a collision shop in the 90s, and we subcontracted to a local Jag place. And so we had to do a lot of Jags. And I remember thinking, like, taking them apart. And, like, this is a car from 1996. And you're taking it apart, and there's little wood screws, and the armrests are a piece of walnut with some deer hide over top of it. And it's all stitched. It's beautiful until you got to work on it. And then all the levers that open the doors and the windows and stuff, it's all adjustable with turnbuckles and lock nuts. Instead of just like a Plymouth has a piece of rod that's bent, this has got like 15 threaded parts on it, and everything was just made to such tight tolerances that okay, you could adjust that, but whoever did. So instead, what happens is the doors don't open.
Right, or the thing
all you had to do was take it apart and adjust it, but that was a half a day because you have to peel back the deer hide to find the little screws underneath the thing because it was all.
Yes. Okay. You just summed up my British car. You hit it. That's it exactly. That's it exactly.
Oh, Kevin Smith asked when my friend Ashley's going to finish his baby blue Datsun. Well, we're hoping that it's finished this summer. He's just finished the brakes and the diff is back in it. And so we're hoping the engine and doors will go in the next couple of weeks. And then we still have to paint the hood, deck lid, and front fenders. And then it'll be mostly done. I want it done for this year's calendar. So I'm leaning on him.
Hugo Fugislev is saying, Lucas was called the Prince of Darkness because of nothing more than the selenium stack rectifier and the Zener diode. The Zener diode, I still don't understand. I've had motorcycles and I've troubleshooted and repaired things with Zener diodes, and I still don't understand what the hell it is.
Well, that Hugo obviously has a very good understanding of those. Would stop rectifying. That's funny. Yeah, well, another thing with the British bikes is they shook. They would shake themselves to pieces. I never seen a bike shake off its own license plate, shook it off.
I had a Norton Commando. I had a Brit bike. I was into Brit bikes for a little while, and I learned real quick why, you know, they're more of a collector item curiosity than something you really want to spend any time riding. But I had a couple of BSAs. I had two 69 A65s. One was chopped and one was stock. And I went through just a random assortment of Brit bikes. But I wanted a Norton Commando. I was like, I gotta have a Norton Commando. That's the bike, right? So I finally buy one of these things. This is about 25 years ago, and it vibrates okay. So it just so happens that it has vibration cycles that correspond with average road speed. So it's like if traffic is moving at 45, let's say from 40 to 50, that's where it goes at the paint shaker. And then, it moves up a little. It's crazy, unlivable. I don't know how they marketed these things. I don't know how they sold them to the general public. It lasted. I held on to it for like a week, and I was like, well, okay, I got my fill of Brit bikes.
Really, yeah. My friend had a Lightning, 1968 or 9, and that's the one I remember. It would you'd have to go back and pick up the pieces that fell off when you rode it.
Yep.
Like it would fatigue the parts. It was the vibration. It wasn't like the bolts came loose. The parts would just fatigue themselves. They would get stress cracks, and it would just break off, and the bolts would still be there.
Where was this now? I just saw. Okay, yeah, there it is. Lane Connolly. Zener diode took AC and turned it into DC by wasting half the electricity into heat. Yeah, why? Just why? Harleys vibrate too. Yes, Ray Rodriguez, they do, but there's a difference. Harleys, they put extra metal into everything, and that's why Harleys are so heavy. So it's like, I'm a Sportster guy. I've got 4 Sportster-based motorcycles, so I know what I'm talking about from experience. They throw so much extra metal in those things that it dampens the vibration, where the Brit bikes were always built out of that, like the same thing they built the cars out of, like that played out tin can metal, and minimalist at that. So they just vibrate. The horrible vibration. The Harley Davidson is a little bit different.
I've been spoiled. I only ever rode my Honda. I'm still riding the first bike I ever bought, actually.
The little one.
No, the gold 750.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I was kind of on the hunt for one of those, and I saw, there's one on Marketplace, a 71 on Marketplace for like $1,600. But currently, like I saw it this morning.
Yeah. That's cheap.
But I know it is. And I don't remember the details at the end, but that's besides the point. I decided I was going to simplify. I had a pretty well-rounded collection of bikes, not collection, assortment of bikes. And I said, I'm just going to simplify. I want to put one battery on the shelf as a spare, and it's got to fit everything on. That type of thing. So I got rid of everything except my 2 Sportsters, the Buell Blast and the Buell Ulysses. So they're all Sportster-based engines, Sportster-based motorcycles. They all take similar electronics. So just to simplify. But I do love those Hondas, man. Those fucking the early CB750s are just magic.
Yeah, there was a teacher at school had one, and we used to go out at lunch and look at it, and when you're only 5 years old, it looked pretty impressive.
Yep.
Had all the pipes on the side. So many years later, I didn't ride as a young person. Many years later, I decided to get a motorcycle, and I was like, what was the one that Mr. So-and-so had? And I was like, that was a Honda 750. Yeah. And it would have been so that was what I went looking for. And I bought a 1972, and I still ride it. And just it's in the whole time. And I've owned it. It was an old piece of junk when I got it, and I've owned it 30 years. There's never been a drop of oil underneath the thing.
They didn't leak.
I've never done anything to it.
That was the thing that made that's what really turned people onto the Hondas, even before the CB750. But they were tight. They didn't leak. Everything else leaked. Everything else vibrated. Everything else leaked. Everything else was a pain in the ass to get started. Mm-hmm. And Honda was just they were going to focus on making everything user friendly. You can park it on a clean, fresh piece of concrete and drive it away, and it's all good. It'll start when you hit the button or when you throw the kicker.
Electric start, disc brake, yeah.
Yep.
That was very, very high tech for the day. And I guess I kind of avoid riding much newer bikes because I still think mine feels pretty good, you know. And if I was to spend too much time on a modern bike, I think I would realize that, okay, well, it's 55 years old. It's, you know, but another nice advantage of driving slow cars is the 50-year-old Honda feels really fast.
But it'll still run a low 12-second quarter mile.
Oh, it still would, yeah. And so it's kind of helped me stay out of the fast car aisle at the supermarket.
What you have a few others besides the Honda, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Got a dozen or so. But the only ones, well, I've ridden the little Yamaha. I got 3 750s and a little Yamaha, and I got a Yamaha XS 650, which I've had for a long time, which was kind of regarded as an oil tight kind of Triumph or type of bike, the vertical twin, you know. And I got what else? I got a CB 354, which is a cool little bike, the small 4-cylinder bike, which was a neat thing. And I have a FJ 1100. But
does that have that same 4-in-1 pipe that the CD 400 did?
No, the 350 has 4 pipes. The 400 had that lovely pipe, yeah. But a similar engine, yeah.
The sexiest exhaust system ever installed on anything ever.
Yeah. My friend has one. It's beautiful. A lot of them are that yellow color. He's got a yellow one. Yeah, they're so cool.
That's the other thing. The Hondas, all of the Jap bikes from that era, beautiful colors, beautiful finish. You know, nothing else compared to it. The British bikes never did anything like that.
I really like that.
Colors and just beautiful bikes.
They're these beautiful candy paint jobs that take enormous amount of effort to reproduce, because it's like a silver base with 4 coats of transparent red over it, and then all the stripes and stuff are all silk screened on, and then there's clear lacquer over it. Mm-hmm. I mean, enormous amount of effort to what essentially were regarded as throwaway bikes. So I always try to paint them in those cute candy colors again.
I remember in the 70s going to motorcycle showrooms. I couldn't afford anything like that. Any bike I ever had was a third-hand beater. But I remember going to see new bikes when they would come in for and that was the thing I remember the most, was the colors. You know, you walk into a motorcycle showroom in 1975, 1976, 77, and it's just it's like every color under the sun, and they're all just gleaming and beautiful and chrome.
Well, it was the candy for me that just where you can see the color looks an inch deep, you know, really, yeah. So I try to paint them like that.
I'm missing the paint gene for some reason. I can't. I've tried. It's like a gift. I don't have it.
Yeah, I always painted it, even as a little kid. I just would take anything apart I had and paint it and put it back. I painted a typewriter. That's how broken in the head I am. I took my typewriter apart and painted it and put it back together.
When did you do this?
Oh, I don't know. I was probably 9.
Oh, when you're a kid, okay. Ray Rodriguez never owned one. The Kawasaki triples were fast. I had several of them.
I've never ridden one. I wish I had.
You ever watch Revzilla, My Daily Ride? The guy Zach.
I don't think I've seen it.
What he does is he takes a different motorcycle on his daily commute from home to work, right? He does a review on it. So last week, 2 weeks ago, he did a 69 Kawasaki triple, an H1 500, and he never let it go. Like the whole time you're watching the tack, right? See, those engines have like 2 torque peaks. So the first one hits at like 3,500, 4,000 RPM, right? It's ring, And then it mellows out and you get to like 6,000, 6,500, and it goes on the pipe again. So as he's riding his bike, he's talking about how responsive it is, how quick it is, and he gives it some throttle. And this is a guy who rides some serious shit. Like this is a guy who's used to riding like Hayabusas and stuff like that, right? So as he's riding the bike, he's giving it some throttle, and he starts giggling. It's like, oh, that feels great. Oh, wheelie, right? But he never saw the sweet side of the second. You know what I mean? Like it drove me crazy.
Maybe it wasn't his bike or something.
No, it definitely wasn't his bike. It was one that was, but I'm sure nobody would have minded if he actually ran it up through the gears like that. But when those bikes wheelie, they do so when you get on them, you got to kind of do a handstand on the handlebars. You get used to just putting your weight up there, and when you get on them, they'll wheelie, and then they'll settle down like this, and all of a sudden they go like this, like it's whang, yes. It's like 60 horsepower all at once, then 25, and then 60 again. You just can't beat the feel of these things. And that's the saying with those bikes. It's like ride it once, feel it forever. And so help me, that's the truth. I can sit here right now and I could imagine myself riding one of those things again. You never forget it.
That's spectacular. Yeah, I rode a turbo. My brother bought a turbo Kawasaki. You remember those?
I rode one when I was doing Cars Illustrated magazine, and I was disappointed by it.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Because I thought it was a really nice, mild-mannered thing, and I got it out on the road, and I cracked it open, and I looked down at because it had a row of LEDs that would light up with the turbo. Yeah. And I looked down and I kind of looked at it. I'm like, oh, it's too bad the lights don't. And just as I thought the word work, the lights came on, and I got pretty scared. It took off pretty fast.
I rode it on the Jersey Turnpike.
That was real classic turbo lag. It was awesome.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. A lot of lag. My only experience with one of those bikes, like I said, I was doing Cars Illustrated magazine, and we had one hanging around the office. So I took her for a ride out on the Jersey Turnpike, and maybe it's because at the time I was used to the Kawasaki triples and stuff like that. Power to just like, yes, do this thing, right? The turbo, the lag, and then I guess because I was on the turnpike and it's just nothing but wide open road in front of you, it wasn't all that impressive when it did go into boost. I'm sure if it was like on a 2-lane or something like that, it would be a different deal. But on the turnpike, with everything just wide open and clear in front of you, it didn't do it for me.
Right. And I only rode it once, but I just thought it was cool. It had that kind of feel again, where you're like, oh, there comes the second engine, and it was a lot of fun. But no, I've been pretty. Again, my only goal when I got on a bike is just don't die. Go out, have some fun, don't die, make it back alive.
How is the traffic? You don't have traffic where you are, right?
Well, if I go in the city, it's the same problem that we have everywhere, which is it's not the number of cars, it's the number of cars with operators who have no idea what they're doing. I used to ride in the city all the time 25 years ago, never thought anything of it. Because you could go around a traffic circle and be pretty sure that the person wasn't going to just exit right into your face. But you can't make sure of that anymore. And out in the country is nice, but even out here, like, there's just suicidal animals everywhere. Like, there's deer and moose on the road, so you kind of know when the sun starts to go down at twilight, they'll come out on the road to get away from the mosquitoes. So there's times of day and night where you don't want to be on a bike. And then in the city, the answer is never, if I can avoid it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind if it's 30, 40 mile an hour traffic. It's okay. It gets any faster than that, and it's just too crazy. People are just out of their freaking minds. And I took a trip. What did I go to buy? I bought some, those carburetors. I went to buy those carburetors. And this was last week. And I had to run up to Clarksville, which is about 80 miles, 75, 80 miles north of me. And taking the interstate up there, the speed limit here is 70 miles an hour. I'm in traffic going 80. And there are people passing us regularly like we're going in reverse, or we're just sitting still. Waving at Traffic has gotten notably worse in the last 2 or 3 years. I don't know what to attribute it to. Something has happened in the mind of the average person out there on the road. They're insane. I will not ride on the interstate anymore.
I think part of it is that these cars now are so quiet and they're so isolated, and the cars accelerate so easily. Like, and who hasn't heard somebody say, "I didn't realize I was going that fast"? But even if they do, like in a modern car, 80 miles an hour does not feel fast.
It doesn't feel fast. And it's the same thing with motorcycles now, right? I think they've made everything too capable.
Exactly.
They've made everything too capable, and it lulls people into a sense of security, a false sense of security.
For sure. You ever ride with somebody who leaves, like around here, it's snow half the time, and people will leave their braking just ridiculously late because they have ABS.
Right.
And you did a video, I think, many years ago about how to drive old cars. And I think there was that I mentioned or thought at the time. I don't remember if I left it as a comment or not, but which was the idea that if you're in an old car, you need to leave braking. You need to leave space, like twice as much as a modern car. And nobody will give you that space anymore, because if there's room, a reasonable amount of room in front of you, somebody's moving in there. So then you got to slow down again. And then now you've left a reasonable amount of space, somebody's moving in there. And so it can be frustrating driving old cars in any situation now. Especially most of my old ones don't even have seat belts. If you go back past 1962 or so, there's no belts in any of that stuff.
60,
no collapsible column.
It was 66 that became mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a couple of my cars don't have seat belts. I'm not a seatbelt guy. I'll take my chances. I'll hold on to the steering wheel.
Yeah, and I don't put them in my cars. If the car has one, I'll wear it. But if it doesn't, I'm not putting it in.
Yeah, but no, I really think that things have become too capable. They're beyond what
they're way beyond the capabilities of the driver.
Yep. And at the same time, the capability of the drivers has deteriorated.
It has gone down. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I mean, all of these problems could be fixed. Every problem could be fixed with a few very simple things. But
well, how would you fix it? Because I'm seeing
make it very hard to get licenses.
That doesn't make any difference.
Well, if you make it hard to get licenses, then you take the bad drivers off the road. Like, get the bad driver, but the bad drivers are deliberately there to wreck cars to prop up the industry.
I didn't have a driver's license until I was like 36. No, I was 40. Let me see, I'm 63 now. I didn't have a license till I was about 40.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd you get away with it?
I just didn't care. Just give me the tickets. Give me the tickets. Occasionally, we got away with bracelets. That's fine. And then it expired. I got it in. Oh God. I got it because I got arrested, and it was a bad arrest because a misdemeanor, and it didn't happen in the view of the cop. So the cop got fired, and I went back to the captain who was in charge of all this, and I says, I appreciate what you did. I know what it is. I know, it's the code. You don't turn against your own, but I know you went out of your way. Thank you very much. What can I do for you? And he says, go get a license. So I did, and I paid like $20,000 worth of more than that to fines that I had collected back in New York to clear that up, and I went and I got a license, and then I kept it for like the 4 years, and it's been expired since. No idea. I don't carry. I believe that I am a free individual, and so I refuse to carry identification. I refuse to be part of that. I go out into the world as a natural being, and I will not compromise that. So if it means that I have to take fines and all this other shit, I just don't care. I just don't care.
I think if that, I don't know about where you are, but I think if I tried that, I would either be in jail or all my cars would be gone or both. Because, yeah, I think they take it pretty, it's not like a ticket here if you don't have a license. They're like, you're gone.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Like if your registration is, I got pulled over and given a $500 fine because my driver's license had lapsed, and they had no reason to pull me over other than the scanner on the car read my license plate, and like they just if they can scan your license plate, they'll just pull you over for anything, and they got me for that.
See, they're not allowed to do that here.
Yeah, well, they're allowed to do it here.
There has to be probable cause. There has to be. There's a lot of things.
Yeah.
That go into it. But again, it's like most of the time, it just they'll pull me over. It's like, license and registration. I don't have my license on me. Okay, well, are you suspended or revoked? No, I'm neither suspended or revoked. I'm expired. So I said, okay, well, give me your name. So I give them my name, and they go and they run it, and they're like, yeah, you're expired. Your record is clean. Why don't you go get your license? And I was like, because I don't want to. Give me the ticket. And they don't. They'll say, okay, well.
What about insurance and stuff? Are they fussy about that?
Yeah, they're fussy with that. Not so much anymore. Used to be, and we keep basic liability on everything. I don't believe in insurance beyond what's necessary for the law to keep the car legal. So everything has the basic. What's that?
That's all I have.
Yeah.
I figured I got my own body shop. Why am I worried about having collision on my cars?
But nowadays, they don't even bother with that. They don't. The last couple of times I got pulled over, they didn't even ask for insurance, because it's gotten to the point, at least here in this country, that there are so few people, or I should say, there are so many people who I get the choice between car insurance or eating. I'm eating. And so there's so many people now that don't have insurance that it's like you can't just paper everybody. You can't, so now they don't even ask.
Interesting. Somebody said SCMODs. That's the first thing I thought too. State, County, Municipal Data Offender System.
How many times have you seen that movie?
Oh, that's the movie I've seen the most. Yeah, I've probably seen it 15 times. In our little band in the garage, we can play half the songs from it.
We're saying no insurance on your car in Michigan, and you're driving it down the road, it gets towed. I guess every state has its own statutes as far as that goes. I'm in Tennessee. Tennessee's pretty easy going. It's one of the reasons I'm in Tennessee. And it also depends what you're driving too. Especially if you drive one of the old cars. When you're driving one of the old cars, the cop just wants to wave at you, and if they pull you over, they just want to talk about the car. They can care less about what you're doing. If you're not drunk, you're not an asshole, you're not, you know what I mean? You're just like, hey, so what's going on? They're cool. They're cool. Very cool here.
Yeah. But I've had pretty good luck, but they also have classic car insurance here, which is great because all of my cars qualify and it's a lot cheaper. And I don't commute, so I fit the letter of the conditions, right? And so I do manage to keep my insurance nightmare to a minimum.
I thought over 68s, when they pull him over, he just acts retarded and they let him go. A lot of it has to do with the cop, and a lot of it has to do with your relationship. How are you? Like, I'll give you an example. When I get pulled over, the very first thing I do, I roll down. See, you watch all of these videos. They say, "Oh, don't talk to the cops. Don't answer questions. Don't let them do this. Don't let them do that." I do the exact opposite. Cop pulls me over. I roll down the window. I put both of my hands outside the door so they can see both of my hands. And sometimes they'll ask, well, why are you hanging your hands out the door like that? And I'll tell them it's for you, officer, so you can see that, my hands are in plain sight. So you can do your business without worrying what's going on behind me. And right away, they're like, okay, this guy's all right. This guy's, Have you had anything to drink? I don't drink. Have you had any of them? No, I don't do that either. I'm completely straight edge. Once they realize you're not trying to hide anything, you're not being an asshole or anything like that, they're like, just go away, old man.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had very few negative experiences other than the fact that anything that I've ever been pulled over for is strictly a revenue generating scam to prop up these failing pension plans. That's what they have become, and that's the disappointment, is that these people who signed up with probably the most honorable intentions have become extortion agents for the machine, and it's very often it's not what they signed up for, but there they are.
Well, that was New York. New York, that was it. Revenue collection agents. That's all they did. If there was trouble, they're nowhere to be found. But have your license plate a little dirty, and then, man, they're going to swarm you. I spent a lot of time. My arrest record in New York, and it's all automotive related stuff. Nothing. I've never done anything beyond car shenanigans, that type of stuff. My arrest record in New York, when they did the printout, it just kept going and going and going. It hit the floor. I should have saved it. I didn't save it, but I had like 30 arrests over the course of the years that I was in New York, just for driving without license, driving unregistered, and just all of this other bullshit. Not paying this fine, not paying that fine, and it's like I got to a point where I just do not. You're gonna have to shoot me. You're gonna have to take me out of the car, and you're gonna have to friggin' shoot me, because that's the only way you're gonna stop me from doing my thing the way I choose to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's New York.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of places beside New York too. I mean,
yeah.
Western Canada, I think we have it better than some places. Just as where you are is different from New York, not all of Canada is the same. Certainly where we are in Western Canada, there's a lot more libertarian mindset than and I mean generally.
Right, I understand.
Right, so generally, the further you get into the middle, the Canadian equivalent of the flyover states is kind of where we're at here, and everything's still fairly civilized.
But here in Tennessee, we have constitutional carry,
mm-hmm.
which we finally got that a few years ago, like 3 years ago. They recognize gold and silver as actual money now, so it's like Tennessee is cool. Tennessee sees the handwriting on the wall. They see where it's going. They're like, okay, you guys go protect yourselves. Cover your asses. Get armed. Get gold. Get silver, and be ready, because shit's coming down.
He is future ready.
Let's see. We run through the comments over here.
Yeah, go. Yeah.
Yeah, extortion agents for the machine. Yep. Barry Kuda saying in New Zealand, insurance is not legally required. It shouldn't be legally required. Okay, they're talking about thermoquads. How do you feel about thermoquads?
Me?
Yeah.
I like them. I thought it was a great idea. But is it true that the plastic bodies will distort and they will be hard to seal up? And
no.
Not true. The Edelbrock was a modified thermoquad?
The thermoquad, Carter introduced the thermoquad as an aftermarket carburetor for as a replacement for the Quadrajet. That was the reason for being, because when they brought out the Quadrajet, there were all sorts of heat soak problems because that centrally mounted float bolt. So the answer to that was the thermoquad. That's why they went as far as they did, the plastic float bowls and everything, to make it a point that, look here, this is going to be ice cold, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the days of cool cans. Everybody was running cool cans back then. Mm-hmm. So the original ones, were a universal carburetor, and then Chrysler started producing them for Chrysler in 1971, I think it was. It popped up on the 340 in 1971. But what happened was, it's not that the bowls warp. What will happen is there are welds at the bottom that are glued in place, and they'll separate.
Oh, okay.
Right? And if you're too aggressive tightening them down, they'll crack.
Okay.
But other than that, no, I've never come across like one that was warped.
Okay.
Warped. The
Right.
fuel level, it's just like an AFB. The fuel level is always below the gasket level anyway. So if it was warped, it still can't leak because it
Can't leak, yeah.
But
Okay. We do like the sound though. Seems like there's nothing really makes the sound of the thermoquad.
Yeah. Well, the Quadrajet, any air valve secondary carburetor is like
Yeah,
that.
they just sound. There's just nothing like that sound.
Flip the air cleaner over and lower her up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Scott, are you over visited? I'd love to meet you sometime.
I'm just very. It's
Let me answer.
Usually busy. That's all. Yeah. But yeah, sure.
Scott and I, Thunderbird 68. Scott and I are okay. We pretty much have the same mindset when it comes to this stuff, right? When we're doing YouTube, okay, we're YouTubers, and it's like, yes, come on, let's talk about YouTube things. Let's, and we do lives, and let's talk to the audience, and let's do it. But when the camera isn't on, we're just regular people trying to live regular lives. I just want to work on my stuff. He just wants to work on his stuff. We don't really want to talk about we're just in our. How can I explain it?
Well, I guess the thing is that, yeah, it's just the reason I started doing this is because I would do it with the condition that if I only filmed what I was doing anyway, then it wouldn't be really allowed to impact my life. Like the only difference between my life doing YouTube and not doing YouTube is the camera. Like, because like I don't get up in the morning and be like, okay, I got to go pretend I like cars and try and find a car. Like if I didn't have to do YouTube, nothing would change. I mean, my yard would look exactly the same. I'd still have the same number of cars. I would still get up in the morning and work on the cars. That's all I'm in it for. I'm literally in it for the cars. I just love cars. And this is how I figured out a way where I can actually build all the cars that I've bought over the years, because I was, for so long I was helping or doing the body and paint on other people's cars. My own cars weren't getting done. So I literally in it. So I guess it's just awkward for me or weird because, I'm nobody, you know what I mean? Like I'm just a guy who likes cars. And so to have it just, I'm just very weird about it and very shy, but I guess I don't hate it. I don't object to it. It's just, it just feels very odd to somebody who for the first 50 years of his life couldn't get arrested, so that's all. Like I certainly don't mind meeting people, but I think I just don't want them to get the impression that they're going to be meeting somebody who's really actually interesting, like just a guy swearing at his lawnmower like everybody else,
Yeah, if it wasn't for YouTube, I probably wouldn't utter very many words at all during the course of a day. Like I would talk to Kathy, you know what I mean? But for the most part, I'm in my own head and I'm working on whatever I'm working on, and it's like like he, same as him. It's like it's just weird, It's like we don't think of ourselves as people that anybody should want to come and find and talk to. You know what I mean? It's like I don't think of myself that way. He doesn't think of himself.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm happy to meet people as long.
Yes, I'm happy to meet people too,
as they understand that the friends that I have, and it includes the ones that are people that I've known for between 20 and 50 years, and they're the same people that I still hang out with. And, you know, all the people that are part of my show are people that I knew before, and all the work that we do is stuff we were going to do anyway. And all the cars we buy, we would have bought anyway. So it's not really a show in my case. It's just me turning on the camera and going about what I was going to do anyway. So as long as everybody, anyone who wants to stop in understands that, I don't have a problem with it. I don't, you know, it's just a bit weird. It's just a bit weird. That's all.
Chuck Elliott saying you cats are famous. Just own up to it. We know we're famous, but we didn't set out to be famous. We don't really want to be famous. Did you ever want to be famous? I never really wanted to be famous.
I don't think of myself as famous even slightly.
Well, people know who we are.
Maybe. I honestly, I leave the yard so rarely that it just doesn't come up. Like, I don't, you know, like if I go to buy groceries, like, it's very rare that somebody is there and they're like, "You're the guy that doesn't." They're just there buying groceries too. I'm really here. One of the reasons I have this place set up with its own bar and its own rock and roll stage and its own deck and its own yard and all of its own cars and paint booth. And one of the reasons I put all that shit here is so I'd never have to go anywhere. All my favorite people come over and visit me because I got the place with the bar and the stage and the guitars and the paint booth, and so I've managed to isolate myself to the point where whatever public exposure I have is almost nil. And so I don't feel it. I don't notice it. I don't find it intruding in my life. And I'm very happy about that.
So I live in a city and I'm recognized, like, I don't want to say on a daily basis, but pretty damn close to it. And it happens in the supermarket. It happens in a gas station. We were talking about before, this afternoon, my cover got blown.
Yeah.
There's a 7-Eleven that I hit all the time because it's between the house and the shop. So, you know, I get my coffee there, I get my burritos there, right? And it's like everybody who works there, the regulars all knew me as Tony, who works at IKEA, the third shift at IKEA. And we don't even have an IKEA in the area, but just,
yeah.
Somebody asked me, what do you do one day? And it was just like, oh, I work at IKEA, the third shift. I put furniture together and I drive the delivery trucks. So everybody who worked at the 7-Eleven, that's who they knew me as, Tony, who works at IKEA. So then my cover got blown because there was somebody who watched the channel and he was in there and he was talking about it in front of one of the workers there. So it's like, now all of a sudden, okay, well now, oh, he's a YouTuber. No, I don't want to be that guy. You know, I do
have to say on the occasions when it has happened, it's never been anybody, nobody's ever, and I guess it's good because nobody's ever come up to me and be like, oh, you're that guy on YouTube. I fucking hate you guys.
No.
Nobody's ever been an ass about it.
No, every encounter I've had out in the wild with people has been great. And I do genuinely enjoy meeting them. I take pictures with them. I don't sign autographs. I'm just not an autograph signer.
Yeah, no, I've never. It just, it's like, you know, the guy signing your autograph, like, I just sweep the floor like everybody else. Like, I'm not
exactly. You know, it's like, why are you asking me for my autograph? I'm not asking you for yours.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like,
I'm nobody. Don't.
Right.
So
that's how I guess that's just the two of us were both like that. Some people live to be in the limelight. They love it. They go to events. They set up, you know, stands with signs and have the autograph lines and all this other shit.
Yeah, I've been invited to do some of that stuff, and I'm just like, no, I can't sit in a booth and like people want to. I'm nobody. God, don't no. It's so. I mean, no, I just can't do it. And it's nice if somebody runs into you. Like, great, I'm happy to say hi. And sometimes people pull in the yard, and they, you know, for the most part, they've been very excellent. And you know, it's just a bit weird. And sometimes it's, oh, I drove 1,500 miles out of my. Well, that's a bit much, you know, like, but whatever. I mean, so yeah, it's just a bit odd, but you know, I guess as long as everybody has a very realistic understanding of who they're going to meet, like probably just going to be somebody swearing at a shitty old car. Like, I've had some very lucky. I've had some people I've met that have been terrific. So
Yeah, no, everybody, I got to say, everybody I've come across has been fantastic. And I do enjoy meeting you guys. I enjoy shaking your hands, and I'm always grateful when you tell me that, oh yeah, I love your videos. And that's awesome. That's awesome. But when it goes like beyond that, and it's like, I want to come to your show.
That's my major, that's the major thing is my fear is that if you're too nice, then at some point you have to, I don't want to have to say, okay, now go away, because now I'm the bad guy, but I wasn't looking for this in the first place. So, but I also was talking to another friend who does YouTube, and we agreed that if you put yourself out there, you signed up for this. Whatever happens, you did it knowing full well.
That's true.
Sooner or later, you're going to run into somebody who recognizes you, and they're going to want something from you that you cannot give them. But you signed up for that, and that's why we both understand that, you be gracious and you be kind. But I'm uncomfortable and not really confident where that line is, and so it's just, and honestly, if I didn't do YouTube or I did do YouTube, I would still I'm just a reclusive car hoarder. I'm nobody. I've never been anything but that.
That's me. I'm reclusive too. I just want to be in my own head, in my own thing, working on my own.
Odd career choices for reclusive people, right? I mean, I think people people might think that's an odd, but in a sense, YouTube is nice because it's very, it's one way, right? It's not, and these are fun too, but very much YouTube is, here's what I'm doing, watch it or don't, and if you like it, I'll do another one up next week. But it's not like a politician where your entire life is about trying to interact and get people to like you. That's a much different type of public figure than what we're doing.
I never ask for subs. For my own channel,
I beg.
Please, yeah. I never ask for likes. I never ask for any of that stuff. It's just like, just take it for what it's worth. You like it, you don't. Sub, you don't. It's okay, but I'm not going to ask you for it. I'm grateful to have what's probably the best job in the world. I can't imagine a better job where it's like I get to do what I want and talk about what I want, and I actually get paid for it. And I'm eternally grateful to everybody who clicks on one of my videos. And it's like, but that's as far as it goes. It's like I just, when I'm not talking to the camera, I want to pet my dogs. I want to work on my car. Do you notice? I want to get on my motorcycle and go for a ride. I want to think things through. I want to plan stuff. That's what I want to do. I don't want to be a celebrity. I don't want to,
Mm-hmm.
And especially you go to an event or you go to a track or something like that. I just want to be at the track. I once got ended a friendship over this. I got called an asshole because a friend was putting on an event, and I said that I was going to go, and I went and I set up my pit over in like the far corner of the pits. Like I didn't put myself in the show area, right? Because I didn't want to be in the show area. I wanted to take my car and support my friend's event. I paid at the gate. Like I go to any event, I go to any track or anything like that. I never look for credentials. I pay at the gate. I wait online in the concession stand like everybody else. I pay for my food like everybody else. And I actually I got like bawled out because I didn't park my car and hang out in the big area where the front and center thing. Instead, I went and I put my car where I was going to work on my car and then go make runs. I pitted where I would pit normally. So I don't like that. That's the part of YouTube that I hate. It's just like I just want to go to the track and have fun, or I just want to go to an event and have fun, or buy parts or whatever. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Well, it's not. I mean, that's kind of it. it's very easy to understand. I think maybe some people, maybe not, maybe they, but I don't know. I think if you really had too much of your ego wrapped in it, it would be very too hard to do this. Like I can do this every week for so many years now because I've basically changed my life not at all for this. Like if you just, and that was what I said the day I started. It's like if you only film what you're doing anyway, then you don't have to care if anybody watches it, because otherwise you're going to be like, oh, why didn't anybody watch it? Well, if you're just going to do it anyway, who cares? And then if nobody watches it, as people have been not watching it for 15 years now, and like I still don't get any views on the videos. I still just hit 70,000. Thanks to everybody who subscribed, but 70,000 subscribers is what most of these channels get in about 6 weeks now. And if you start getting wrapped up in that, you can't do it. I'm totally happy because I'm just filming what I'm doing anyway. And that's why I can't tell my friends don't swear, and I can't pin microphones on them. I can't do any of that because then now it's a put on.
It's not real anymore.
And as soon as it's put on, I won't do it anymore. And so I guess there's going to be too much swearing and not very good audio, and that's the way she goes. It's that or nothing.
I think we operate within the spirit of YouTube.
Yeah, I think so. I think certainly there's channels out there that I feel are what YouTube was created for.
Like, name one or two.
Have you ever watched Even Flow? It's Irish. No, it's these Irish guys that make possibly the funniest, best YouTube car videos that, like, it's so good that I want to quit. And I put that in the comments to them. I'm like, your show is 50% inspiration, 50% makes me want to quit right now. Like, that's how good it is.
What's it called?
Called Even Flow is the name of the channel.
Even Flow.
Even Flow, all one word. And these Irish farmers who are nuts about JDM cars. And I mean, these guys have like big rubber boots and tractors and just amazing driving skills sideways in these little Toyotas and stuff. And you can hardly understand them because the accents are so thick, and they're as obsessed with tractors as they are with little JDM rice burner turbo cars. It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. And they have like the one guy is like got white hair, and he's got like the perfect, his hair is so perfect. It's, and they only yell. Nobody's ever spoken a word. They only scream at each other at the top of their lungs, and they scream at the camera, and it's the best thing. It's the best thing on YouTube because it's so bizarre. Like you know, it's one of those things that proves that the world is real because there's no way that your brain would come up with that, you know? So it proves that the universe is real. That's how good it is, because you could never make that shit up. Like I'm just obsessed with it, and they've been around for years, and it has just over 100K subscribers, and it is just the most perfect YouTube channel. Like they're beautiful camera work, and just anyway, if you get a chance and you want to see something that is so completely different from what anybody is doing, Even Flow, it is fantastic. Yeah.
Could one of the mods put up a link to that, so if anybody wants to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there must be somebody here who can back me up on this. Like Even Flow is.
I haven't heard of it.
No, but
thousands of car channels. I mean, it's like
there's millions. There's millions, and this channel had been around for years before I ever heard of it. I think it was my friend Steven, a younger guy, because the cars are JDM kind of Toyotas and such. So it was my younger friend Steven, who's a superb mechanic who helps me out around here. He is into that type of car, and he said, you gotta be watching Even Flow, and I watched it, and I wouldn't care what kind of cars they're driving. The production is so funny, and it's just so beautifully done. And if anybody, there we go, Mexican Spec put it up.
Yeah, Mexican Spec put it up. Thank you, Mex.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, if you guys get a chance, I mean, you know,
See, I will geek out on stuff like that. Like I don't have to. So they're into JDMs. I'm not necessarily into JDM, but
no,
I
neither.
love watching people who are really into it. They know the details.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, these guys are the passion is real. I think that the one guy must be a kind of retired professional driver slash farmer, but I mean, he's as passionate about. He's got a turbocharged Mercedes 4-wheel drive tractor from about 1980. That's his like, and it is polished, right? And they're as into that, and they got old minis, and they got a lot of Jap cars. It's a fantastic channel, and just the interaction between this fellow and his nemesis. Yeah, it's fantastic. There's one where I think he's recycling microwaves or something, and anyway, and he's just throwing them in the river, right? But he's charging people to anyway. It's fantastic stuff. It's fantastic.
Have you ever seen Drain Addicts?
No, is it the one where the guy unplugs drains?
Yeah, he walks around. He has these. You never see him. Like he's got the camera mounted like on his chest, and he has his hands out like this, and he just walks around holy, and he goes about his business. He's an actual plumber.
Yeah.
And he'll put like little characters in like if you're working in a pit, he'll put like like Gumby, stuff like that down in the pit. It's just weird. It's just weird. It's called Drain Addicts.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've heard of it, and yeah, I mean, YouTube is it's still at its core. It's still a fantastic idea because as soon as the technology existed for people like us to just start your own show, if you have there was no longer that that third party between you and the people that you wanted to reach. You no longer had to hire a crew of people with money and cameras and vans and all that stuff to come and film you. You can do it yourself. And when I started, I think I could only do 5 minutes of video. That's all my camera would hold. So if I wanted to make a 20-minute video, I had to go and unload the camera 4 times.
Oh, jeez.
And and the cameras are those little, like whatever they were.
GoPro 3.
Yeah, like little micro pics or whatever it was called, and everything was in 200K or 200 pixels or whatever it was. I mean, it was, but I was still thrilled. And now, what we could do now, I mean, since the advent of drones, I mean, you can do features and photography that would have cost $20,000 a minute a generation ago, and now we can do it for a couple of $100, and it's just so amazing.
See, my background with the magazines back in the 80s and then again in the 90s was a nightmare. It was a nightmare because I had my ideas. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I was trying to get across, but you have to swim through the sharks. There's of course the editor, whoever's editing. Then there's always there's a whole hierarchy that you've got to go through, and then the advertising department. You can't do anything that's going to piss off the advertising department or any of their advertisers. And it was always like swimming through mud to get anything out there, and I burned out on it. My second time around in a magazine, like 1990s. By that point, I had built a name for myself, so it was like, okay, just do whatever you want to do. So like Ron McGonigal from Hot Rod was like, you print it, we'll publish it. Same thing with Steve Collison from Superstock. So it got easy for me, but in the 80s, it was a freaking nightmare. And YouTube is literally the exact opposite. You're sitting around, you're working on whatever, and it's like, oh, wow, I just had this idea. Oh, my God, hey, this is a good video. And you whip out the camera. That's why, like, I look at my own videos, and it's like, oh, the quality is cringeworthy, but you got to understand, I'm doing these things pretty much like, okay, so what will be happening is I'm installing a cam and checking everything on an engine, and at the same time I'm doing that, a thought pops into my head. It's like, hey, wait, checking this. Oh, wait, this is a video. Let me put everything back the way I started. You set up the camera real quick because you don't want to lose momentum. You don't want to lose the idea. And certainly not. I can't write a script or anything like that. And so the sound's a little off. The lighting is a little off. All the stuff's a little off, but it's spontaneous. And it's like, here, this is an honest idea, just as it's happening. and that's to me, that's the beauty of YouTube. It's like I have an idea and I can share it with my friends instantly. You know what I mean?
It's the instantness of it too, because
Yeah.
there's no time for you to analyze the shit out of it until it, like many years ago, we were in a band and we had made an album. We were going to make another album, but we got so constipated with the writing process became so constipated, and so like, okay, we'll try that, and to get over that, I decided that my friend had a setup at his house, and I was like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to come in here by the end of the evening. We're going to come whatever. And by the end of the evening, the song is done. That means all the overdubs, and we have nothing to start. And we were able to do 10 songs, start to finish, first take. Everything was first take. So if you played the wrong chord in the second verse, you'd have to remember to play the wrong chord on the bass in the second verse. And at the end of it, there was 10 songs. 7 of them were not good. 3 of them were actually quite good. And that's more than we'd written in the previous year. You know what I mean? And so YouTube can be like that. It's like, it's just, and I've taken that approach to the cars themselves, which is, what is the most efficient way to just get this done? Get it done and get it on the road. Because if you set out with the intent, and you see this happen all the time with car projects, and 99% of them don't get finished because the guy sets out with these ideals. I'm going to make the best whatever. I'm going to make the best 68 Cougar the world's ever seen. 11 years later, it's sold off in pieces because the wife wants the garage back. If you just gone in there and said, I want this car on the road by the end of July, you just like hammer it and make it rough and get it done. You're having way more fun. That's the essence of the hobby. Not you watch these TV shows. Well, these guys have $1 million budget. You know, it's not realistic.
No, I like building cheap. I like building easy. I like building common. I don't. So it's the exact opposite. It's like I'm not Tavares. I'm not going to do a $2 million McLaren rehab. No, I have zero interest in that. I needed an oil pan. I came across an ad on Marketplace. Guy was selling I needed a rear sump oil pan for a big block, and guy on Marketplace. There's a picture of a 440 with a rear sump pan, and I was like, how much for the oil pan? And he's like, I don't want to sell the pan. I said, how much for the motor? He said, give me $300. So now I got this, tomorrow I've got this $300 440 short block being delivered to my house or to my shop. I happen to have a set of heads. I happen to have just picked up a tunnel ram intake manifold. I happen to have a cam. So I'm going to slam this thing together. Fly by the seat of my pants, make it as simple and unexotic as humanly possible, because I love building stuff like that. It's fun. It's like there's no stress. There's no, you know what I mean? And I know that the vast majority of the people who watch this stuff that are trying to learn, or they're food, do I put food on the table? Do I spend money on my hot rod? Well, to me, it's important to do things for those guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's
something that's inspirational. I saw this come up real quick, and I just wanted to pop in here. Stranger Sound, you're saying your granddad was an orphan, so hard to know where he come from. Dude, if you're approximately my age, so I'm 63, if you're in that range, okay, most of us have a grandparent that was an orphan. Okay, and if you really want to see some interesting things, okay, look up Cabbage Patch Kids, look up incubator babies. Okay, and you're going to go down some rabbit holes, bro. You're going to go down some seriously crazy rabbit holes. But look up Cabbage Patch Kids and incubator babies. And orphan trains. That was the other thing. Orphan trains. This was a real thing. Okay, so. Go down a rabbit hole, man. It's some crazy shit.
That's fantastic. No. Well, I had a question for you. And I think I know the answer.
Okay.
Did you build models as a kid?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would have bet against that.
Obsessively.
Yeah. Okay. Same. Yeah.
Obsessively.
Yeah.
I would sort of like grade school, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, like that. Oh Jesus. All I did is build. I would help. I had a mechanic that worked at his house across the street from me. I would help him. But I built the models, especially the Revell, the 1/16 scale funny cars and dragsters. I built anything I could get my hands on. It was constant. And car magazines. And I made money doing washing neighbors' cars, changing tires for them, changing oil, that kind of stuff. Babysitting their kids, whatever I had to do, anything, and any cleaning their pool, and anything, any money I got went right to the place in town. It was a candy store, and it had car magazines and models, car models.
All my money. Yeah.
All of it.
All of my money went to model cars and magazines. Yeah. And I saved all mine though. Most people didn't.
Oh, I didn't save anything.
Yeah, I still have them all.
I didn't save anything.
And I was always trying to get the paint to look good, Still am, right?
I was never good at that either. The toothpick and a tube of Tester's glue. Yep. Before the lemon scented stuff.
Yeah, what happened to the glue? It used to be good.
They don't make. There's a fellow named KJ Kiley who made models of a few of my cars. The beautiful models, but the glue, just the wheels fall off. You're just sitting there, not even touching them or anything like that. You look at it one day and it's sitting like this because the glue separated.
Yeah, that's disappointing. I know Steve Maniante, is that how he pronounced it? Yeah, he's quite into it. And it's funny because both of us were, I think, fans of the Johan models or whatever, because they would just pick the weird cars to do. That was my favorites. Like Oldsmobile, or
Johan built a lot. Well, Johan built a lot of oddball stuff, but the earliest. Did you ever see the Revell 1/25th scale, 1/24th scale orange crate?
Probably did.
It was so the orange crate was like a early 1960s show car. Okay.
Yeah.
Drag oriented show car.
Yeah.
This thing was. I remember building this when I was a kid, and it was so detailed. Like the cylinder heads had valves in them. Tiny little. Right. It was amazing. And yeah, Johan built a lot of really cool stuff. I was mostly into those Revell funny cars and dragsters, and I ended up over different versions of them. Lengthening, shortening, doing all sorts of stuff that I was addicted. Drag racing for me, like when I was 10, 12, 13, 14 years old. Oh, it was the only thing I cared about, like nothing else. So I would see the real car and okay, the model's wrong here. It's actually. This diagonal goes like this, so we got to fix that.
Which one? This would be in the mid 70s. There was a Pinto drag car. Do you remember that one? It was a Pinto funny car.
Yeah. There were a couple of them. Al Hanna and oh God, he's a friend of mine. I can't remember his name now. Al Hanna died recently. Al Hanna and Billy D had a Pinto body car, the Eastern Raider, and Mickey Thompson. So the models, Mickey Thompson had one that they built a model out of.
Maybe that's the one I had then. Yeah.
That was probably the one you had.
It was a Pinto body, and I think it was mostly white. Yeah. That was the only funny car one I did. And I had a model of Shirley Muldooney's car.
Okay.
Yeah, the Cha-Cha.
The funny car. The Mustang?
This was the pink top fuel car.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. I I had that one too. But mostly I had mostly muscle cars. Of course, this was in the late 70s, early 80s, so all the monogram kits of the Challenger TA and all those were coming out. I had a lot of those. Yeah.
So you're the generation,
Yeah.
youth-wise, you're the generation after mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was there for the golden age of car models.
Mm-hmm. I did have the Big T. Did you ever see that one?
Sure.
1/8 scale. Yeah.
Everybody had the Big T.
Yeah. I actually bought another copy of it not long ago. My friend found it, and I was like, "You have to sell me that."
I just that's the kind of thing I that's a hobby I would probably really enjoy, but I don't have the time. I don't have the time or the headspace now.
I wanted to get back into it, and I thought, you did all those models to practice for when you got the real thing, and now you got 50 of the real thing. So you got it. You kind of made your choice there. So.
Yep. The car models really did lay out a foundation of knowledge, especially when you would paint undercarriages and stuff like that, and you would see how, because they were pretty detailed, some of them, and you could see how things were routed. You knew where the cross member was, and there's the bolts for the cross member, and there's how the exhaust runs through there. You were familiar with all of the relationships.
Yep.
Of a car before you actually went and worked on the car.
I knew what all the things were, right? I knew what all of it was before I ever saw the inside of a real car, and they were tremendously helpful. I learned a lot building models. I did models and bicycles. We did a lot like actual wrenching on bikes. We used to set up. Yeah, our neighbor was into bike racing, but he wasn't much mechanically, so we were kind of his pit crew, and we were like 10 and 12 years old. We drew up his wheels and set up the derailleurs and stuff, and that was kind of because our bikes, you could only take them apart so many times, so we were happy to have somebody else's stuff to work on.
At that age, I was into gravity carts.
Okay, yeah.
So we had a big hill near my house with Armstrong Hill, and it ended in woods, so there was like never any traffic on this road, and we would build wooden gravity carts. It was all construction in our area, and we'd go find 2x4s and whatever. And then Thursday night was bulk collection night for garbage, so people put up baby strollers and carriages and stuff like that, and we would all go hunting for the coveted ball-bearing wheels. I was obsessed with that.
Oh yeah, we had a couple of go-karts, but never really anything serious.
I should get Kyle Carter on something. Stranger Sounds. Who's Kyle Carter?
Oh, my friend Kyle. He's just gotten into YouTube recently, but he's probably one of the best bodymen I've ever seen, and he's really quite hilarious. And he's building. You probably remember these the early custom style, the early customs from the mid 50s before they got really crazy.
Hirohito Merc sort of thing. Hirohito Merc sort of thing.
Yeah, in that era, the early stuff, kind of. Then he's building a very faithful car in the style of the early 50s, and he's doing it all in a little 2-car garage without any help or any modern parts. And he's doing a beautiful job. It'll be one of the coolest customs to ever come out of this country. And I'm happy to say I know him. Actually, I went to his house a couple of weeks ago, and we chopped up an Oldsmobile Omega just to troll the internet a bit. And it's turned out pretty hilarious, actually.
Right. So you're telling me this guy's going to build a nicer car than Bad Chad?
Yes. And Kyle's a good sport.
Next time we get together, invite him on. I'd love to meet him.
Yeah, you bet. Well, he lives about 400 miles away from me, but.
Well, you live like 1,000 miles away from me, but we're.
Oh, I see what you're saying. We all get together. Yeah, that'd be. Fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's cool because he drives a 77 Chevelle and a Crown Vic. Those are his dailies, so he's all right.
Our next get together, have him come along. Dude, we're at 2 hours and 14 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Do we answer any questions from anybody?
Yeah, let's run through. Sorry, I hope we didn't neglect. I don't think we did. I don't think we neglected people the way we did.
Yeah, we should have, if anybody has any questions, now would be a great time because it would be. I know that some people may have asked stuff more than once, and then we get talking about motorcycles or whatever, and then I had questions too, but that's okay.
You
Here's
have
a random question: what was your favorite? I know you're probably not a rack and pinion guy, am I right?
I don't have anything against rack and pinion per se.
Yeah, what was the favorite steering box you ever drove? Where you're just like, wow, this is a beautiful piece of engineering.
I'm into the Chrysler manual boxes, the aluminum manual boxes.
Yeah.
And some of them have a magic feel to them. And I can't really, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Some of them are just sloppy and natchy, and some of them are just so smooth. And I think those are the ones that were built in the 67, 68, 69 era.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Dart, my 69 Dart with the slant six and manual steering.
It had like a buttery kind of feel to it.
Yeah, yeah. And you could let go of the wheel and it would just spin back and yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I love those boxes. I love those boxes.
My favorite steering box I ever drove, if you ever get a chance, the Mercedes from the early 70s, like a 280 or something.
Okay.
It's like you, to get the quality, to get that feel, you'd swear the steering box must weigh 1,000 pounds. It is just, and and we've driven lots of cars, and that steering box, and like going down the highway at 80 miles an hour, it's like this. There's not even this. It's that. It's unbelievable. If you ever get a chance, just if you're a steering box aficionado, you would absolutely adore the Mercedes-Benz 280.
Anything that I've ever driven with a Corvair box.
Oh, I've never driven a Corvair.
It was good. The Corvair is a tiny little unit, but it has that solid feel to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? You would think it's a box, right? But it's not. It's just a tiny little thing. An excellent feel. I don't know who made them though.
I would have assumed that GM made them, but
well, yeah, that would actually make sense. GM from that era would have made that.
What do you think of the 1984 Corvette? That's a fun question.
Wait, 83 is the year they didn't build any, right?
Right. 84 is the first of that new generation.
Yeah, right. I did a drag test.
Drove them. I've never driven one.
I did a drag test on one for Cars Illustrated. I ran 13. Oh, God. I got the car in the 13s.
Really?
Yes. It was the first TPI car.
Did you give it back in a box, or did it still run?
No, I gave that back in one piece.
Really?
Yep. And it ran. I probably had
still a 4-speed.
Oh, it was automatic.
Oh, okay.
It was automatic. But that would have been 1985, 1984. But it's the same car.
Yeah, I only remember what I read about them. It was Car of the Year at the time, was it not?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Car of the Year. I remember them complaining that it was so stiff that it rode like shit, and they really toned it down in '85, I think. But that's I honestly I can't say I've not driven one. I drove a '90s one, and I thought it was rather underwhelming.
I'm just not a big Corvette fan.
Yeah, no, I mean I like the look. I like the old ones, but
the old ones. Old ones.
But I drove a '90s one. Of course, it may have been a performance car in 1992, but by today's standards, it was kind of a dog.
Let's see. Ray Rodriguez has a gold '84 Crossfire. Yeah, it wasn't a Crossfire that I drove for the magazine.
That was also, I think, the first car that had the Goodyear Gator backs. Remember those?
Yep.
That was a badass tire. I remember when those came out. Like, that was a hardcore tire. And I like old tires.
I don't think I ever drove anything that had a Crossfire in it, to tell you the truth. Now, I do remember somebody taking a Crossfire intake manifold, mounting carburetors on it. but I can't recall ever actually having a Crossfire experience. Huh. It's weird. Don't think I ever actually worked on one either. I'm going through my freaking memory banks over here, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I just remember the huge tires. Those tires were really something when they came out. And it had the cool digital dash with the parallel hockey sticks, one for speed and one for tachometer.
Yep.
Yeah, that was quite the thing. I wonder if any of those still work.
Let's see. 20-cent mode is Valiant's changed their manual steering a few times. In 62, they went to a slower, more turns like. The 62, they went to the steering box that they used right up until the end of the F bodies in 1980. So that's the aluminum box we were talking about before. The 6061 on the Valiant and the 61 Lancer and the DeSoto was mounted on the frame rail instead of the K-frame. And that was was it a Sagnaw box? It was Sagnaw. Had an S cast into the top of it, but that was a steel box that was, or a cast iron box that was mounted to the frame rail, and then they went to the aluminum one and they mounted it to the K-frame.
Oh, it's a totally different animal then.
Yes.
Yeah, I still want a 60 Valiant or 61.
They're so homely. They're beautiful.
Yeah. What was I think 62 was the first year for the hardtop, the Signet.
Yeah.
That would be the one I would like to get.
The Road Toad.
I like the Exner cars, and I kind of think it would be like just the nice thing to round out the Exner stuff. Just have, because that was really his design, whereas I think the 62 full-size cars were kind of a compromise. But he really...
You know the story how the 62 cars came about, right?
Yeah, I think so. How was a misunderstood...
It was bad. It was bad spy info. That they were working on. They were working on the at the time. They were working on the Chevelle.
That's right. So the info was correct, but the info was not complete.
They thought that the Chevelle was actually going to be the full size Chevy.
Yeah.
And so they took their full size. They shrunk it down to, and they I guess Exner had already done the drawings, the basic drawings on the car, and I guess on a full size platform it would look okay. But when you shrink it down to Peabody dimensions, it's like
yeah, well, all the details became disproportionately huge on the car, but I like 61s, so what can I say? I'm a weirdo.
The 61s have a lot of character.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
The 62s had character, but not in any attractive way.
Yeah. I would have a 62 Fury, though. I like the grill. I would have one of those any day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I really like 61. Yeah. I bought a 61 when like 30 years ago, and I still have it.
There you go. There's one. 62 Dodge Dodge only face a mother could love, but it's Goggles Paisano. Goggles of Paisano. HO scale slot car racing. You ever get into the HO scale racing?
I wasn't serious about it. We had a track when we were kids, of course, and but I think to get serious about it, no. I mean, we had it set up and we had a few cars, and I thought it was fun, but I was always like, given the same amount of money, I would buy a model, you know.
I didn't play with the HO cars when I was a kid, but when I quit drag racing and I had all of this time on my hands and like I need hobbies, I need things to keep me busy and occupied. There was a club on Staten Island. It was like a storefront that they turned into a club that they raced HO scale cars. And I started going there weekly, and I bought a couple of cars and started modifying them and stuff like that before I lost interest. I was into it for like maybe 2 months. I was like, yeah, this is great. And then it was like, okay, now I'll go shoot pool. So I started shooting pool.
Oh, you're shooting pool, eh?
Yeah.
Did you get good?
I had a plan. I got okay. right? But what I would do is I met a bunch of friends at the pool hall, and every night religiously I'd go to the pool hall and shoot for a couple of hours. And all of these guys were better than me, 100%, right? But then they close the pool hall at 2 o'clock in the morning. In New York, last call at the bars is 4 o'clock in the morning. So what I would do is go shoot with those guys and then go to the bars and hustle 8-ball. I'd play straight pool with those guys and then go hustle 8-ball afterwards. Because by 2 o'clock in the morning, everybody in the bar is drunk. They're just ready to throw money down.
They're just taking their money. Yeah.
Yeah, so I hustled pool, but not because I was good at it, just because I was taking advantage of drunk.
Yeah, you just had to be better than the drunks. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we have a table here, but it's just one more thing that I don't have time for.
Quarter tables are regulation. Regulation. Oh, well, quarter tables at the bars, regulation at the pool. All right, dude. We have to wrap this up because I got to tinkle.
Yeah, terrific. Well, thanks so much for having me on, boss. Always fun.
Come on, brother. Another 2.5 hours. It just absolutely flies by. And anytime we get together, I think people like this. I don't think things have to have a direction or a purpose, bang line, the clickbait. I think people like to just hang out.
Well, that's what we do, right? I had a bunch of topics and stuff, but I'll save them. It's good. I'm happy we didn't get to them because that means that we can maybe do it again.
Well, get your friend on here. Let's do it. I'll tell you what. It's July. Middle of July now. Let's plan to get together August, like first, second week in August, and invite your butt on there.
Okay, that'll be fun. Yeah.
And actually, I'd like to get Jamie in here too.
Sure. Yeah, let's do that, and let's. Let's do it. Well, thank you guys, and thank everybody for hanging out. I see a lot of familiar there. Stephen with an S. Cheers, buddy. Stephen, he won our classic dart giveaway about 10 years ago. Drove all the way here to get a old cigarette.
So Zero just put up the link to Cold War Motors. You guys haven't subscribed. I'm sure everybody here by now knows you and has subscribed. So by all means, go over there and show Scott some love. Tomorrow night we're gonna have Dr. Art is coming over to the shop, and Buff Del Campo and Kim Fixes Things. They're gonna deliver my 440 and give us a hand on a 3D3 teardown. So we're gonna try. This is an engine that's been abandoned for decades, so we're going to break it down and try to revive it with his.
Doing that live?
Yeah, we're going to do that. Well, we're going to break it down live tomorrow. Yeah. I don't know how far we're going to get as far as, but at least we can identify whatever issues.
Oh, that'll be exciting.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
I hope it's rubbish.
It probably is. I don't have much faith. It is locked up solid.
Oh, the gruesome close-ups. Make sure you get the gruesome close-ups.
Oh, of course, and of course the facial reactions.
Oh yeah. Think of the thumbnail.
So,
terrific.
Yeah, that's tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Dr. Art, Buff Del Campo, and Kim Fixes Things are coming over, and yeah, let's plan to get together sometime in August. We'll get a couple more guys on here too, and we'll.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, this worked out really well. I guess we figured out whatever was the echo thing, but
yeah, you sound great.
Yeah, perfect.
So our awesome mods, Zero Mexican Spec. I didn't see Fubar in the house tonight, but he's always here in spirit. Guys, thank you so much. Everybody contributed a super chat. Thank you. It's always appreciated, never expected. And everybody contributed just your presence and your conversation. Thank you so much. We're eternally grateful for you giving us the most valuable thing in the world you have, and that's your time. So
thank you guys so much. Thanks for having me on. Thanks, Kathy and Tony, especially Kathy for babysitting me to get this all set up here. She makes it possible. So you guys, that is fantastic. Thanks so much.
All right. I'm going to hit the out button, guys, and that's it. Guys, Scott.
Cheers.
Cheers. Uh-oh. Oh, there it is. Button.
It's 24.